Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? It's your boys 33, bringing back to the Anarchy Analysis match of the week here in the LCS. It's going to be 100 Thieves taking on Dignitas. This is going to be a full game cast, and I'm delighted to bringing this to you guys, as these two teams are currently at the bottom of the table. Dignitas 0-6 and are bringing in the third iteration of the roster, with Lolo and Dardoch and Phoenix all in the roster from the start of the season's roster being complete change. As for 100 Thieves, we saw their roster compete yesterday in the Friday Night League, with Contracts and Poom coming in to spice things up in the jungle and in the support role. As we get into the bands here, we can first look at the Dignitas 2 band here, the Xayah and the Karma. Xayah obviously is a very standard, very strong ADC, and not a champion that we see most of the time being banned. Obviously, you've got the Kalistas, the Varuses, and also the Ezreals being the main sort of predominant ADCs being picked in current meta. But the ban comes through nonetheless. Karma is a follow-up by Dig. It's sort of this average pick that it was picked in the TSM game just before this one, but it didn't perform very well. It's still quite strong as a champion that can be flexed, but obviously the ban is on that champion. And Dignitas' last ban is a Syndra. Again, it's a champion that's very strong and predominantly is a flex pick in between the mid and the bot lane. Very good champion overall, so it's good to get off the board. As for the 100 Thieves side, they ban out the Aphelios and the Varus, two strong champions in the bot lane. They don't ban out the Kalista, so that is sort of a good sign. And Azir is their last ban. Dignitas' side, their first pick was the Graves, a carry champion that can obviously provide a lot of threat into the game. Does a lot of work in terms of the fact that he can carry late game. It's also a very strong jungler in the early clear. Whereas 100 Thieves respond with the Ezreal and Orianna, locking in the mid laner early, as well as their ADC, kind of is a good idea. You would have thought that they may have picked the Kalista because it was available, but obviously the Ashe being the response from Dig is still up and would have actually counted quite heavily the Kalista, so a good pick into the Ezreal there by 100 Thieves. As for Dig, they pick up the TF to end out the first pick phase. Again, they're probably looking to set up roam around the map and do a lot of threatening towards that top side, where Someday is obviously a big threat, so putting him down and behind, considering how 100 Thieves played yesterday against Golden Guardians, where they looked to get Someday ahead with Contracts putting a lot of gank towards that top side. But the last pick for 100 Thieves in this phase was the Olaf, a good early game jungler that obviously can get through the CC and lock up on the Dignitas side, because they do have the gold cards, they do have the Ashe Arrow, and the lockup is quite big on the Dig side, so the Olaf coming through is actually very useful. Now, looking into the second ban phase, we see Thresh and Tahm Kench banned out by 100 Thieves, obviously wanting to secure a strong bot lane matchup, and with the ban on the Tahm Kench, you obviously don't have that much safety on that Ashe, considering how immobile she is as a champ. Having them two champs removed is actually huge for 100 Thieves. Dignitas' banned see Renekton and Yuumi, a champion that's been falling off since last patches. A major nerf came onto her E, in a sense that she can't spam it as much in team fights, as there's a massive mana cost put onto it. Now, second pick phase started off with the Rakan 400 Thieves. High engage tools picked up here for 100 Thieves, as the Rakan can dash around, provide a bit of safety onto an Ezreal who also has a bit of mobility, so having this champion to start up fights is actually huge for 100 Thieves, and what is good about it is it can provide a lot of response. Dignitas pick up the Braum and the Ornn though in response. Two strong champions in the sense that they're very tanky. Surprised there wasn't a Trundle ban, to say the least, though, by Dig in that second phase. But that kind of could have televised to 100 Thieves what their plans was. But Ornn, great champion past level 13, as he's just able to upgrade the rest of his team. And it's going to be interesting to see how this 100 Thieves team adapts to the amount of bulk on the Dignitas side, where they're essentially looking to protect the carries, as realistically that TF that Dignitas has drafted, they're probably not looking to split push the map as heavy. If they did, it probably be a 4-1 split. But you've got to be wary if you're 100 Thieves by the roam game of Dig. And on the 100 Thieves side, you've got the very high amount of damage and burst coming out from the Orianna and the GP. Whereas Olaf and Rakan are obviously looking to protect that Ezreal and provide a lot of threat towards the backline of Dignitas. But anyway, as we exit the draft phase, this is going to be quite an interesting game to actually watch, as I'm intrigued to see how the TF is able to free up his lane to get around the map and pressure it, and what sort of, well, what side of the map he's going to actually look to pressure. As we're onto the Rift now, 22 seconds in, the crab emote comes out, and yeah, this is quite an interesting game, as these two teams looking to pick up a win here. They're already at the bottom of the table, and this should be quite a hard matchup for either team to win. But we're already seeing this little invade level 1 by Dig, obviously faking the ward over the wall onto red means that the Olaf doesn't know if he's been, well, warded on vision up top, as he obviously spots the roam in. So this kind of puts some mind games onto the 100 Thieves jungle. Obviously he doesn't have a sweeper, but if he goes to place a ward down and then goes back to base and buys a sweeper, he could then check to make sure that his red isn't warded. And if it was warded, he'd obviously get a bit of extra gold and XP. So this is quite a nice invade coming in from the Olaf now. He's looking to try and collapse in, as we might see an early 2v2 here in the jungle. Now, this is obviously heavily favoured for the Olaf, as Graves only gets limited to 2 shots, and considering he's already bursted some onto the blue buff, it's kind of has to give up the blue buff to 100 Thieves. So good invade here coming in from 100 Thieves. Very smartly done, as it just means that it's going to be hard for this Graves to get an early game going. And a nice little play here by Ryoma as he goes to ward the red buff, because he knows that blue buff has been taken by his jungler. So knowing where the Graves is means that it's going to be hard for him to actually get any sort of early gank on the by the Graves, and it's going to be kind of a good job here by 100 Thieves to get this early game going. Now, if I was Dig, I would definitely be looking to do this by responding with the blue buff. If the Olaf was smart, he would have only partially cleared that blue buff jungle and would have immediately roamed to his blue buff so that he got the triple buff onto the Graves, keeping that Graves behind early and excelling your early game, because that's the sort of thing that Olaf wants to do as a very strong early game jungler. Mid lane now, we just see a bit of trading between the two laners. Obviously, the junglers are going to their second jungle camp and looking to obviously kill that, so there shouldn't be any sort of like gank this early on. However, Olaf has already cleared out his jungle and is looking to go to the Scuttle Crab, secure that, and then he'll probably look for the gank. Meanwhile, we look at top side, we see the standard thing between a GP Ornn lane early on. GP having the constant pressure onto this Ornn, as Ornn has very little wave clear other than his Q and then his W and then followed by an E to go in. But obviously that combo is mainly reserved for if he can survive it, because early on he doesn't have that much sustain, and his kit isn't the best when dealing with a constant threat of barrels and then the shots from the GP. So it's a very nicely done setup by 100 Thieves right now, as this early game should realistically be theirs, and what I'm expecting is a gank towards either mid or top by 100 Thieves in the next few minutes in order to keep that lead going. So, Dignitas' side of things, what are we looking for? Well, they're looking to obviously survive to level 6, where Ashe is able to get her arrow and put pressure on the map. Similarly, with the GP, he obviously wants to hit 6 to have a global ult to provide a bit of strength, as we do see this nice little protection of his jungle by the Graves here onto the Olaf, and we are seeing a lot of pressure put down onto him. It does force out a pot onto the Ori. It's very nice and easy for the Ori just to get back up to full health, clear up the wave as she's obviously forced back onto her turret. But Contracts is clearing out the jungle of the Graves and has actually been caught out here, and we may see him die. He's caught in a bad position there. He tried to go for his axe and then failed and just gets immediately bursted out by the flamethrower of the Ornn. First blood over to Dig, and kind of a bit greedy played there by Contracts, and kind of indecisiveness there, honestly, as he kind of didn't know who to go on to, as he tried to go for his axe or the undertow and then immediately just had to walk away and got caught in the middle of 2 enemies. So essentially easy kill over to Dig there, and turret plates in the bot side for the Ashe. So as we look at this play again, you can see Graves is coming up to come take Gromp. Ornn's already roamed down, and look at the undertow. He throws the undertow, then he just gets a bit stagnated there and gets hit by the flamethrower, and essentially he did just nothing there. He kind of got a bit indecisive about what he wanted to do there. Anyway, the good thing though is if we look at the CSD at the current time, we see Olaf is still ahead by 6 CS, as we do see him roam towards mid lane. Nice flash out there by the TF to avoid the shockwave, and it does force a lot of pressure onto the map, as a TF without flash is going to be quite hard to make roams for him, because he doesn't have the safety of that tool to get out of a fight, though he does have the heal, and we may see a re-engage towards mid here. Flash forward from the Olaf, gets immediately flashed, well, healed by the TF, and just roam out as he's just able to get away. So, summoner for summoner there in the mid lane, as it's flash for heal, but a very nicely set up thing by 100 Thieves to obviously get the 2 summoners out of the TF, though they are still behind by 2k gold. So now this is the hard time of the game for 100 Thieves, as TF does have his ultimate available to him, so the pressure on the map could be applied by that TF via the Destiny, approach either top or bot lane. I would say it may be heading top lane to obviously put Sunday down, and when we do see that Destiny, it should lead to some kills, but obviously he needs to free up his mid lane, and with the Orianna constantly pressuring him, it's going to be quite hard for him to actually get anywhere. Now, we do see Dardoch here, not in vision of 100 Thieves, looking to obviously get onto Sunday, and this should be where we see the Destiny come through, as the Call of Portugal comes down, Out comes the Graves. We're not going to see... Oh, the Destiny does come through, but it's a bit delayed. Oh, but he is coming onto the Olaf, and he's immediately just killed. The Ragnarok comes through to stop the gold card, and then the Shockwave just to trap the TF. And when you don't have Flash available to you as the TF, you've kind of just doomed yourself to that fight. And an even trade there, even though it realistically should have only been at 1 kill over to Dig. But 100 Thieves clawing a bit of gold back into this game. Now, 100 Thieves are starting up the Herald here, looking to probably drop this top wave, if it's my opinion. As we come into this replay, we do see GP trading. Nice little call of the Forge God. Knocks up the GP who was hanging around the wall, realistically. If you were GP, you wouldn't go towards the wall. And here's the TP. Pretty bad there by Phoenix, as he just gets immediately popped. Now we do see, though, Graves taking out the Drake, and it's not even an even trade, as 100 Thieves already secured the Herald. You don't normally see this, you usually see the Drake and then a Herald take, but the Drake does get taken first here, well, second here, sorry, by Dig, as kind of this consolation prize, but they are technically now stacking Drakes for the Soul, and considering the sort of pressure they can provide as they get the first turret before a heralded team, kind of impressive, honestly. But obviously 100 Thieves had swapped up top side in order to get the gold on the top lane turret, instead of staying bot side, as well as roaming for that Herald. But gold staying fairly even since the last time we checked in, as there's still that 1k gold lead on the Dig side of things. And we look at the items now on these champions. Some fire capes come in for Ornn. That is a great tool going into 380 champions. The only one that he's not going to be able to deal with is the Orianna in that mid lane, but obviously he'll probably build into an Abyssal Mass to get his second ornament as a tool that provides a lot of magic resist. Whereas we do see on the Orianna building a tier to probably go into Seraphs here, which is going to provide a bit of a shield. So obviously if she does get caught out by a TF, she can pop the shield to give her a bit of survivability, and then ult the TF as he's stood in front of her. Now, Blade of the Rune King has been completed on the Ashe, which is a great tool in obviously getting onto the Olaf. I would say is the best tool to use it on, as it's great against melee champions. And GP and Olaf, who are wanting to dive on top of the carry, as we are going to see a collapse onto the GP here, has to pop the lemon to obviously avoid the gold card or cleanse the gold card. But a good escape there by Ssumday, as Dardoch is pressuring him here. We are going to see a lot of pressure, but out comes the Rakan, the quicks, the running thing from Rakan, I forgot the name of it, and that's 2 kills over to 100 Thieves, as the over commit by Dardoch and Aphromoo does mean that 2 kills do go over to 100 Thieves, and nothing for Dig side. The only thing that they realistically get is a bit of farm onto the TF, as well as on the Ornn. But even then, Ornn was obviously involved at the start of the fight to burn the GP flash, as we now see the Shockwave coming out onto the Ashe, chunking her out quite heavily, but obviously with the lifesteal coming out from the Blade of the Rune King, she's just going to be fine. Now, we'll look at this replay again. We see GP already spotted here. Destiny used to keep him tracked and TP in. He just walks away, and the ward actually sees GP, so he just walks up to cancel his ward. He flashes forward as well, which is kind of stupid. Yes, it does force the Olaf flash, but he uses the Graves ult to get over the wall straight into the arms of the Rakan, and Rakan charms him up as well as the Braum. And yeah, that is 2 needless deaths on the side of Dig, and this is pretty bad. Now, the gold lead has shrunk considerably, as it's almost even 200 gold difference between these two teams, as that 1k that was originally there has just shrunk considerably thanks to that M2 kills going over to Dig. And if we look at where them kills ended up, 1 onto GP and 1 onto the Ezreal. This is quite a nice set of kills coming into the carries of the 100 Thieves, as the arrow just gets cleansed by the lemon and the turret engage has come through. A nice 3-man W by the Rakan, as the quickness just charms him up, and the avoiding of the Braum misses everyone there, and no one falls in this fight, as it's just a load of low health bars on either team. But 100 Thieves are looking to trade the turret that was just taken by Dig in the top side by taking the one bot lane. This is good sort of usage, as we are going to see TP coming in from the the Ashe, but she's just immediately shockwaved and bursted down to Hearth. Rakan's already come down here, as Olaf is taking the first Mountain Drake for 100 Thieves, and this is turning into a 100 Thieves game, as these kills and fights are just slowly mounting up in favour of 100 Thieves, and the first gold lead has gone over to them since the start of the game. Now we're 60 minutes in, and Ornn is slowly getting to his level 13 point, where he will get that nice juicy first ornament for himself. 14's his second, and then 15's when the rest of the team start getting bonuses. Obviously, if you're going to use the bonuses, you probably look to stick the first one onto the Ashe. Then it'll be the Graves, I would say, and then the TF. Third, then fourth is the Braum, if you get that far. But looking at everything right now, the Trinity Force has been picked up by Ssumday in that top lane. A great burst potential tool for the champion who's looking to play spells and apply that armor penetration onto the carries of Dignitas, as it is such a very powerful tool going into a Ornn, as the armor that's been stacked up already by the Ornn's just going to be nullified considerably. Now 100 Thieves setting up in the top side of the map, as they're looking for this engage onto the TF. The exhaust is used onto the Ragnarok Olaf, and he's hit everything. Flash stopwatch is used to avoid the shockwave, but that is a dead Phoenix. And a lot of bursts coming out here onto the mid lane, and oh, they actually get the Ezreal. Trading kills here, as it's carry of the TF going down for carry of the Ezreal on 100 Thieves side. A very nicely done trade there by Dig in response to the 100 Thieves gank top lane. But if you look at the Ezreal, he could have played that a bit more safely. He did have the Rakan right next to him with heal, so that could have obviously kept him alive. But obviously, they did not use it. They weren't expecting the damage output coming from the Dignitas bot lane to actually hit and do that much. But you look at what was used in the entirety of all that. Cleanse and flash on the Ezreal. Stopwatch was burnt onto the TF, as well as the fact that a lot of CS was gained by the Ashe as well. So a lot of gold gained over Ezreal and the TF on either side. So this mounted out pretty much an even trade overall. But the gold lead has snuck back over to Dignitas, as they have got that 200 gold, or 100 gold now, sorry. But it's fairly even right now. The only thing that's realistically different is the drakes that each team has. Obviously, the Mountain Drake on the side of 100 Thieves and the Cloud on the side of Dig. But even then, the buffs that they give is minor in comparison to what a Soul would give. Now, we are going to see this 1-3-1 sort of approach, as TF wants to obviously split push, and he uses the Ornn as the other side of the map to kind of just hold against the Gangplank split push. But obviously, they're going to group up now around mid to kind of force down this mid turret as the second Rift Herald gets dropped. And this is kind of the best use of the second Rift Herald, is to obviously break the mid tier 1, as it kind of relieves so much pressure onto the map for your team, as it allows you a bit of an easier time to get into the enemy jungle, to set up vision, as well as kind of threaten objectives, as it means so much as the safety of the mid lane is not available for your opposition. Now, the Ash Arrow is going to go wide there, as it is good to go straight across the map, hitting no one, but obviously it's a good thing to be doing. If you're an Ashe, you want to be using that arrow as much as possible, because it puts it into the mind of the opposition that, hey, they're looking for a pick here. Hey, they're going to look for a pick here. And they kind of overthink the situation, and that is a good idea to use it for. Now, we are going to see this in 1v1 top lane. Obviously, it's a 2v1 technically because GP ult comes through. And a nice, easy kill for the Orianna as the Shockwave just locks up the TF. And basically just kills him for free. And at this point, Ryoma is just being a very strong bully against the TF. As TF is 0-3-0. He hasn't been involved in any kills, and he wants to roam to get in to set up big plays around lanes and obviously make it a numbers disadvantage. But obviously, Ori is using that ultimate to perfection and shutting down Phoenix any opportunity she can. Now, as the Orianna is just split pushing into this TF here, we should realistically see this turret fall. It's not going to be contested by Dignitas. And the team that's meant to split push, i.e. Dignitas, are being split pushed harder by 100 Thieves here. Now we are 22 minutes into the game, and Ornn has hit level 13, has got his 2 ornaments. Next level, he'll look to obviously get himself or get one of his carries a tool, but a nice redemption there by Poom to keep his top laner alive there, as Graves was looking to engage. But this is fairly standard laning, as we have seen the Ornn actually catch up in CS to the GP, as GP's kind of gone off into the jungle for most of the time now, just to get a few camps, to get himself a bit further ahead, to get more gold. So essentially what 100 Thieves are doing is they're putting the gold into Ssumday here in order to get him to be their main carry. And yeah, we might be seeing a death stance onto the GP, though I don't think it is as useful anymore, considering the usage of it has gone down because it was nerfed quite heavily. Now, we are going to see 100 Thieves on a red ward, well, on a ward, basically trying to take the Drake. Now, Dignitas do know about this because the Hawk Shot came through. Destiny is used. They're obviously trying to force off the Rakan. Ash Arrow goes wide. And the Baron has been disengaged on by 100 Thieves. And realistically, nothing should come from this. But Dig get the inside track onto the mid lane and are looking to obviously get this tier 1 turret in the mid. It is pretty free considering 100 Thieves recalled and obviously gave it up. Now, the good thing here for 100 Thieves is they do manage to get out the TP of the Ornn. And the reason that is huge is because it means that Ornn can't stay too far away from the Baron pit and has to realistically stay with his team as he doesn't have the tools to actually just join up via a ward. So it's a great trade here by 100 Thieves, a nice bait. And realistically, this should be them going towards Drake, getting that for free. Though we might see Dignitas actually start up the Baron themselves in order to kind of force 100 Thieves' hands. Obviously, they want to get some days TP out from him, but we should see 100 Thieves take the Drake for free. But looking down at items, Deathcap has come through onto the Orianna, and Seraph's Embrace is fully complete and stacked on a 240 CS and 3 kill Ori. Ori is very strong at this point in the game. And if you're Dignitas, you're going to have to be playing safe when checking vision because you don't know where this Ori will be, because she can just hide off in the side of things, ready to just hit you with a massive shockwave and burst you down. Only champion that probably won't get instantly killed by it will be Lourlou's Ornn, but as I said, the Drake is going to go over to 100 Thieves here, and they are on Soul Point. Soul Point is kind of the hard part for Dig, because now they're going to get split across the map in terms of the fact that if they don't answer the next Drake, then 100 Thieves will go to Baron. Or if they answer the next Drake, they'll go to Baron. Or if they answer the Baron, they'll go to Drake. It's kind of a hard situation for Dignitas to be in, even though they want to obviously pressure the objectives on the map. And here's the issue with this sort of comp that Dignitas have drafted. It's very hard in the current meta to set up a split push comp. The best example of a split push comp would have been the game literally that just happened before this, TSM taking on Golden Guardians, as they use the roam of the TF perfectly, as we see Lourlou caught out here. Destiny, though, has come through and has been casted. But here comes the Olaf just running forward, and the Ash Arrow narrowly misses. Sorry, no, it hits the Rakan, and that is a great hit as the kill comes on for TF onto the Rakan, though we do see Ori killing off the Graves, and Ori is slowly pushing forward. GP ult has been put in the middle lane, meaning that we're forcing Dignitas into the jungle, and the choke points being even harder and smaller than what they are in lane. So that was a very nice 1-for-1, though the jungler on Dignitas has fallen, so we should see 100 Thieves turning straight for Dragon in order to get this. Now, the Dragon take has been spotted by the blue trinket, but we shouldn't see Dig come to respond because they have no reason to go there, because their jungler is dead. Now, we do see TF just getting this turret for free, and there are 100 Thieves members are coming down here in order to kind of punish the overstaying TF, but TF knows that he's stayed too long and backs away. But this is a bit weird from Dig, as they're kind of just stood in the middle of nowhere, Dardoch just burnt his ult to escape as he had to go over the wall. But 100 Thieves are just chasing Dig all the way back to this tier 2 turret. And because of what Dig did in that topside map, they're going to lose their second tier turret in the mid lane. And that is huge for 100 Thieves, as more pressure on the map can be applied. And they also look threatening this inhibitor turret. Ash Arrow comes through, hits onto the Ezreal, forces the arcane shift, but because there's no follow-up from Dig, it just means that 100 Thieves can stay there and keep pushing. There's no real threat from the Dignitas side, as there's no full-on engage tool on their side that's going to be used. Like, you have the Braum, you have the Call of the Forge God, but there's no actual engage other than the Ash Arrow coming through to actually get thing. And the sad thing here is 100 Thieves are just suffocating Dignitas now with this Baron buff, as they've already skilled the mid inhibitor. They're using the GP ult to actually just keep the pressure on as they take down two members very low, and the redemption has to be popped by Dignitas to keep him alive. But that is the inhibitor popped, and we're going to see maybe the fight coming in from Dig here, as the Destiny is popped and the Call of Forge God. But nothing comes from it, only the disengage from 100 Thieves, as the Ash Arrow does hit here onto the Ori, but Ori's just dead, and TP is coming in from Someday, and he's onto the Nexus turrets, but he is going to be scared away, as we are going to see Rakan just die here to Dardoch, and the chase down from Dignitas is coming in here, though this could be a pretty bad situation. Graves has gone in too far, and Olaf has just killed him off, and down goes TF. Dardoch over chasing there, as well as TF being mispositioned. 2 kills go over to 100 Thieves, and guess what's just about to spawn? It's the Ocean Drake, and what is happening? 100 Thieves are just killing off Dig, and they're just coming in one by one. 2 kills over to Ezreal here, and that's a triple for the Cody Son Ezreal. Wow, that was a misplay there and a half by Dig, and the Bud Light ace. Wow. This should be the Ocean Soul coming over to 100 Thieves here after such a sloppy play from all of the Dignitas members, and you can kind of see why they're so, like, not rated as a team from all these plays. They're just overcommitting too hard onto everything, and it's cost them the Baron, it cost them the Ocean Soul, and that's probably going to be it for this game, as we should see 100 Thieves looking to end with the Ocean Soul. That being said, we do see that is not the Mortal Edge. I should point out that Ashe has mis-itemed because Ornn upgraded her, but the Blade of the Ruin King was in the first slot, and that got upgraded instead of the Infinity Edge, so the extra damage IE has not come through. It's instead the Blade of the Ruin King, or whatever the upgraded item is called, I don't know, but I'll call it a Blade of Ruin King +1. But that is kind of a misplay. You can kind of see that from Dig, though we have got the Molten Edge on the Graves and the upgraded Zhonya's on the TF. Now, Lolo's only level 16, as we are going to see the Ash Arrow come through. Call of Forge God used onto the Olaf, and guess what? Olaf has the Ragnarok popped, so that's going to do nothing. Ornn gets immediately popped here by Ez. Braum follows by the Ori, and the Ez gets the Ashe. This should be game here. Graves is trying to do too much. He's on his own, as there's no damage left on the Dignitas side. Down falls TF, And that's going to be it, as we see 100 Thieves take down Dignitas, going 2-6 for this split. Holy moly, what a game that was. And wow, I'm actually amazed how badly Dignitas played that game. It was so sloppy towards the end there, and realistically, they could have played so much better considering the early game. They got such a good advantage, and they just threw it all away realistically. And yes, you could count that to an Olaf being actually really good in this team comp, as he just was kind of the target by Golden Guardians. By Dig through the entirety of the game. The Ash Arrows and the Call of Forge Gods were mainly used onto him, or aimed at him and some other members, but it only realistically went onto him, and he just pops Ragnarok to say, now what you gonna do? That was happening every single chance that, or every fight that happened, and it was so poorly executed by Dig that realistically they threw away the game there. TF did not get to play a roam game at all realistically, as he was kind of kept back and trapped in lane, and the chances he did get to roam, he kind of was just pushed back there. He didn't achieve too much, but Dignitas are still winless, and 100 Thieves go 2-6 after this game. My name is Zizza33. If you enjoyed this gamecast, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here if you want to, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.